There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
With Oscar De La Hoya over my shoulder, we're talking some boxing on Tuesday, June 4th, downstairs in my house. New room. Oh, man, of course, the J-Man, Jeremy Francis. Let's go. Little Holmes in the house. Royalty right there in the house. It's fight week. It's always fight week. That's a great thing. So, we'll talk about some fights coming up this week. Also, 8 years ago, Muhammad Ali, the greatest, passed away. So we'll talk a little Muhammad Ali, but a good one. Saturday in New York, you got Xander Zayas in a main event against Pat Teixeira. Xander Zayas, you can't call him he's not a prospect anymore. He's a contender. I mean, I'm looking at he's ranked 7th by the WBC. Now, of course, most of these ratings are bogus. He's ranked 13th by the IBF and 5th by the WBO. So he's a contender now. I mean, he's 21 years old. So want to see if people are psyched for that fight. Pat Teixeira is a guy he should beat. Teixeira, I remember him losing to Brian Castano. And I think that's where he lost his title. I think Teixeira fought for a vacant belt. I don't think he ever had a belt, but I know he had a shot at Castano and he lost. By the way, Brian Castano, I shot with him before he fought Jermell Charlo the first time. And not really nice guy. I liked his team. I liked him and his team, but that dude has just disappeared. That dude has disappeared. So, looking at the rankings, at 154, it's a whole new game now. You got, first of all, WBC has Errol Spence ranked as number 1. Okay. Virgil Ortiz is ranked number 1 by the WBA. It's all politics. It's all nonsense. The IBF does not have a rating for 1 and 2, and the WBO has Tim Tszyu ranked number 1. But of course, you got Bud Crawford in there. So Xander Zayas is moving up, and of course, you got Sebastian Fundora, who has a belt, and Sergey Bohachuk. Although I think he has an interim. I don't know, man. I can't keep track with these interim titles. But you got Xander Zayas, who's got a big fight, and he's headlining on Saturday. So that's exciting. But we can talk about that, see if you guys are excited. But June 3rd, which was yesterday, it was 8 years since Muhammad Ali passed away. And it reminded me of one of the favorite docs I've ever seen. And this came out in 1989. I think they revamped it a few years later and updated it. Champions Forever. And you see it was on Ali, Kenny Norton, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, and Larry Holmes. It's one of my favorite docs of all time. Just really, really well done. And they shot this, like the first edition came out in 89. So at the time, Mike Tyson was heavyweight champion of the world. So it was really good. They did a good job on their stories. Yeah, Little Holmes, 1989. I know they did have they updated it because I'm going to play a clip and they have some updated, like they had in there at the very end that George Foreman became heavyweight champion. So they just updated some graphics. I don't think they did anything to the doc itself. But as a matter of fact, Little Holmes, Tyson was very gracious in the post-fight interview with Larry and said that he knows that wasn't the Larry Holmes that everybody loved. But I will say that Mike Tyson was the only guy to knock Larry Holmes out. And Larry Holmes fought a lot after that. Little Holmes, the dinner part was the best. You know what? That's only a part of the show. Reggie Jackson, I'm a big Yankees fan. So Reggie Jackson was the host of that dinner, and there's some great stories from that. You know, I'm talking about Ali not only because he's Ali, but because that era was just it was just different. And today you go on YouTube and a lot of people make their living doing shows like this, and I understand it. But you got people talk every day. It's the drug test with Ryan Garcia, or somebody's beefing with another. Sometimes we forget, or they're defending fighters from people who don't like the fighter. So I just like to talk boxing, and this was an era that was special. And I want to play a clip from that doc. But Friday night, gotta admit, kind of interested in Eric Cobbs and Adrian Broner. I got to admit, I'm interested. By the way, it's kind of sad. Like Don King, like even the press conference. Look how bad the video quality is. And I'm sure I don't know where it's being telecast. Maybe Triller. Hopefully, the telecast will be decent. But look at this. The quality is so bad. And Jeremy, yeah, Broner does look like he's ready. And Doc, what's up, Doc? Yeah, the constant disrespect of fighters. Now this has been funny. This has been funny. This is another thing I've enjoyed.
I'm here with the great one, obviously, Blood Flair. And I'm going to do the best that I can. Because, I don't know, I might get washed up. I ain't gonna lie. Thank you once again. Give AB a round.
It's been pretty funny. You know, he's got his doll that he walks around with. But yeah, but I'm looking forward to that. I'm sorry, I'm looking forward to that fight. Broner looks like he's in good shape, but it's crazy that he's only 34, but it looks like he's declined. I mean, his last fight when he fought that lawyer, he started to physically look like he was in decline. Yeah. So, but the disrespect to fight, yeah, man, I just like to. That's why I know, and I appreciate everybody who watches, but you know, this, oh shoot. Oh man, ladies and gentlemen, coming to the show, we got a Hall of Famer, my friend, the former, I'm gonna do this like Michael Buffer, the former 140-pound unified champion, the former welterweight champion of the world.
Hey,
my man, Timothy Bradley.
I'm no longer 140 pounds. I know that, or 147.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're a former champ. What's going on, my friend?
Man, I'm just picking up some stuff, doing the honey-do list, man. You know how we do. I appreciate
well, I know
that
you're
text message, man. I do. I'm gonna come through for you. What's going down, man? What's happening?
Well, I appreciate it, man. We were just talking about Xander, and I know you're heading to New York in a couple of days.
What you guys think, man? What's your assessment of Xander and where he's at right now?
I'm like you. I like him, man. I mean, he's a contender now. He's not a prospect. He's 21. I mean, he's fighting Teixeira, and the stage is set for him to shine, man. It's going to be in New York, the Puerto Rican Day Parade. I think it's this weekend. So they're setting him up to be a star, Tim.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of pressure on a young man. I remember in the past, I remember him fighting in Florida. That's his home state now. A while back, a little bit earlier in his career, he had a problem dealing with the crowd. He typically fights, he gets boosted with adrenaline off the crowd. I think he's kind of settled in now. Got his man bones now, 21 years old. I think this is a perfect time for him to definitely, like you said, shine and kind of, make his, be able to provide a stamp, I should say, for the division. Put his stamp on it and say, hey, guys, I'm here. I might be a year or so ready from the top, but you know what, guys, I'm here. And I could be the new face of Puerto Rican boxing, man. They need somebody, man. Matias is not the guy. I mean, Matias is a beast, but he's not that guy. He's not popular, man.
No, he's not.
Think?
He's not popular. Sean Porter at one point didn't know who he was. Because he doesn't. He months ago, Tim, we were doing a show. He didn't realize that he was a champion because he's just not popular. He's not being pushed. But Top Rank is pushing. They're pushing Xander to be a star. They want a Trinidad and a Cotto. I mean, they're having him. He's headlining in New York, so it's a big deal for him.
You remember this kid? He started young, like 17. Like he's still in high school.
Yep.
So, he's been around the game, I think 5 years now or 4 years now. So we've seen the maturation. We've seen the growth. I've seen the growth in this kid. He's definitely gotten better. I don't know his stance on as far as being able to compete against the southpaw. I know he had great amateur background, but, man, this is his first southpaw. And, and that has a ways of having its own difficulties in itself, yet alone Puerto Rican Day weekend too, man. On top of there's a lot of pressure on this young man to perform, man. And but I think he's ready, man. But again, I don't know his southpaw experience, man, because it's his first one.
Well, you said maybe he's a year away. The fact is he's 21 and he's still getting experience, and now he's fighting a southpaw. So I guess it'll be easier to evaluate it after the fight. But
yeah. You got the southpaw, and he's a former world champion. He's a former world champion too, and he had the big upset years ago against Carlos Adames.
That's right. Well, I remember too. He lost to Brian Castano, and I was thinking about Brian Castano. Castano lost that rematch with Jermell Charlo, and then he disappeared. Like Castano hasn't fought since, but that's besides the point.
Hear me?
Yep, I got you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Give me one second. Give me one second, guys. Let me I gotta text my wife back.
Look at this. Tim Bradley on the road doing the honey-do list.
Yeah, man. Hey, don't officers out there, anybody that's listening to this, I'm sorry. I'm texting and driving. Yes, I am. I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm not supposed to be doing this, but we all do it. And I'm doing it safely. I'm in the slow lane, so don't beat me up too bad in the comment section.
Well, I know, Tim, you're coming out to New York this week, and you guys are calling the fight from New York, and you also are receiving an award at the Boxing Writers Dinner. So that's awesome, man. I know you're looking forward to that.
Yes, I am. I really am, man. To be honest with you, I never really saw this day coming, man. I honest to God truth, man. I've never really saw this day coming. There's a ton of great analysts out there, boxing analysts. I work with a few. Sean Porter's fantastic. Paulie, all these guys, even Chris Algieri, man, fantastic. So I never really expected that, man. Those guys are brilliant minds of boxing, bro. And so, I feel honored. I feel honored, man, because I've been working my butt off, man. I'm not gonna lie. I've been working my butt off over at ESPN, man, and feel like I've been doing double shifts since Dre's been gone. Not only am I doing the entire show, I'm also writing as well. So I just think that, the boxing pundits, they see my work, they see how I've improved, and they see how hard I'm working out there. So last year was a good year for me, I feel, and and I'm getting rewarded for it. So definitely honored, and can't wait for that. Can't wait to receive my trophy, man.
Well, it's well deserved, man. And for people that don't know, I know how hard you work and how you prepare yourself and how seriously you take it. And if people don't know, you write some fantastic articles on ESPN as well. So there's a lot of your stuff that people can see you call fights, and they can read what you do. So it's deserved, man. This is something you work for. This, it wasn't handed to you, just like you worked to be in the Hall of Fame. It wasn't handed to you.
No, you're absolutely right, man. I agree with you wholeheartedly, man. And again, this is one of those rewards that I was like surprised, man. When I got the call, dude, like I think I was more excited about this than when I got in the Hall of Fame, to be honest with you. Because I mean, it's a new adventure for me, man. This is a new career, and it wasn't always easy for me, man, just to get up and talk on TV. I mean, I don't know if you follow me when I first got on, man, until what I have become today, man. It's night and day,
Of
night and
course.
day, man. I was spooked, at first being on television, feeling that I had to be perfect all the time, and dealing with the criticism on top of that, man. I still would deal with the criticism now. However, I've definitely grown in this position, and I thank ESPN for allowing me to grow, and support me over the years. I've been doing it now, 7 years now, man. So
It's been a long time.
yeah,
It,
I'm got about 3 more years till I get my 10,000 hours, man. More years.
well,
They
you know
usually
what,
take. Go
Tim,
ahead.
you what I appreciate, I think what most people appreciate, and I think why you're getting the award, it's a couple of reasons. One, the ability to break down a fight and tell the audience what's happening so they can understand it.
Mhm.
And also you have something that not everyone has. You're blunt and you're direct and you're honest. And sometimes it's tough. You don't want to say things that come off as critical, but in your role, you have to do that. If you see a fighter doing something wrong, you point it out. And I know you and I have talked a lot about this. You've been called a hater and this and that. But I talked to Brian Norman, who is a champ now. And even Brian Norman said he agreed with the things that you said about him. So I appreciate the fact that you're honest, and it's easy to be like kind of fluff and not go deep because you don't want criticism, but you're being honest, and that's why you're being honored.
Yeah, I've never been a fence rider, man. It's I'm usually known to tell the truth, man. I've always been that way. But what people don't realize is that I wasn't always like this. I didn't become like this until after I went through what I went through back in 2011 when I fought against Manny Pacquiao.
Right.
That's when everything changed for me. I got a different outlook on life, a different outlook on people's opinions. And then I realized, like, man, like everybody has an opinion about me, and I have to, I guess, listen to it and accept it. However, I feel like I was like, man, I got an opinion also. And now that I'm in this position, I'm like, yo, I got an opinion. Not only do I have an opinion, but I actually did this. Whereas most people that sit behind the keyboard and type and say, negative things all the time, they never fought before. So it's like, man,
Right.
at least my opinion has weight. Now, I'm not saying that I'm always right, because there are some boxing people out there that follow the sport wholeheartedly, man, and they don't miss a beat, bro. I mean, and they're very, very knowledgeable because they've heard a lot over the years. And so they say a lot of the stuff that was, they repeat a lot of the stuff that's been said over the years, and they've seen certain trends, throughout the years. So I mean, I respect those people too. But some people, that a lot of the people that talk without having receipts or, having facts, to back it up, that's different. Now, I really don't respect that. So at least when I'm saying something, I try to back it up with facts, man. At the end of the day. But yeah, my honesty, and just talking about Norman for a minute. Norman, I did an interview. I forget who it was with, man, to be honest with you. And it's, man, sucks for them, because I wish I had known exactly the interview I did it. But I talked about Norman. They asked me about Norman. They said, hey, do you think Norman can be a world champion? I said, absolutely. Absolutely. The young man is extremely skillful. He has a lot of experience. His father has done well with him, throughout the years. I do have my opinions about that. However, I think he still has the goods to do that. If he fixed certain things in his game, absolutely, he can be a world champion. Now, this is well before you saw all the all the interviews of his father going at me
Right.
sideways. And dads will be dads, but again, I again, this is me talking. And I can know I'm the only one that said this. I mean, I don't know if any other commentators have said this in the past, but fathers, man, sometimes fathers can be a little bit too much, man. A
Yep.
little bit too much over the top, man. I understand that you're seed. I understand that they're your son. However, like, that's a grown man. and these fathers, they defend they defend their sons, and they talk crazy. And I'm talking about from the Bill Haney's, who done a good job with his son and managing him and getting him to where he's at. But man, sometimes you guys like just be quiet, man. Like you don't have to be in the light. Let your son shine. You know,
Right.
that's the important part. So you have fathers like Papachenko, who just, I mean, I don't even know if we ever had done an interview with Papachenko.
Right. He's just in the
So
background.
he's in the back. Absolutely. His son is shining. I mean, it's his son. I mean, but I respect fathers like that kind of sit back in the cut. They do their thing and they don't really be, they don't want to be bigger than the fighter. But I can't stand when trainers, and when father trainers try to become bigger than the actual fighter.
Yep.
That's a problem with me. Yeah, because the fighter to me is the most important thing in boxing. Because without the fighters, the promoters can't do anything.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, can't do anything without the fighter.
Exactly. Hey, and listen, when you have to jump off, because I know you're on a mission doing some stuff. I know how that is because I had those lists.
What's up, man? What else you got, man? What else?
You know what? I wanted to ask you one last thing.
Okay.
It was 8 years ago yesterday that Muhammad Ali passed away. Passed away at the age of 74. And I always love to talk about the history of the sport, and there's no bigger history than Ali. Did you ever? I never asked you this, but did you ever meet Muhammad Ali?
Never met him, man.
Never met him.
Never met him, but I mean, man, Ali to me is the greatest. I mean, inside the ring, outside the ring, everything he brought to the sport, man. That guy, I mean, humanitarian. I mean, he fought for human rights as far as for black folks or black people, I should say. I mean, even mainstream television, bro. I mean, getting brothers, getting fighters, black fighters on mainstream television, man. I mean, he's a remarkable person, man. Great heart. I remember it was a time, like just going back in history, where Sonny Liston was the heavyweight champion. He reigned for some time, and nobody really cared because Sonny Liston was kind of like he was kind of dark in a sense. Yep. Thug, really gangster type, mob type of guy. Yep. No one really, I mean, they respected him because many was afraid of him. However, when Ali came on board, man, I mean, he completely changed the game after he beat Sonny Liston, man. And the rest is history. But yeah, Ali is definitely, I would say, the greatest of all times, no doubt. I don't care where you put him at. He's the greatest of all time, in my opinion. Just put it that way, because of what he did inside the ring, and he fought everybody. I mean, he fought generations, yep. Like the generational champions, and he fought them probably at an older, as they were on their way out or exit. But I mean, he fought everybody, man. And he never ducked. He never ducked anybody, and for that, he's one of the greatest of all times.
He was I almost met him. It's kind of not a great story because I could have and I didn't, but he came to HBO one day. This had to be like early 2000s. Somebody told me that they knew I was an Ali fan, and they said he's in the building. He was upstairs in the HBO. It was like the 14th or 15th floor where they had these like lunch suites. And they said, yeah, he's up there if you want to go see him. Wow. So I went up there, and I could see through the door. Like the door had one of those windows, the stained glass, I guess, where you can kind of see in, but not really. So I looked in, and he was in there by himself. And I knew it was him because he was shaking. He had Parkinson's.
Oh, wow.
He was by himself.
Was that? This like 84?
It had to be early, because I was at HBO from 99 to 2014. So it had to be sometime in the early 2000s.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he was heavy in the Parkinson's then. Yeah, but in the 90s. When did he get diagnosed? Was it 1981 or 84? I think it might have been 84.
It was sometime in the 80s that he got diagnosed
with Parkinson's.
And then it got worse. But Tim, he was in the room, and I can tell he was by himself. I just wanted to leave him alone, man. Like he was eating, and yeah, I stood outside the door, and people were like, "You should have went in." But man, how many people he's met, and I mean, he always had people around him. So I just kind of gave him, like, I said, you know what? he's I'm not gonna just barge in there. So I was close to him.
You should have, man.
I know.
He would embrace you with open arms, man. The dude had a huge heart too, man.
Yeah.
Huge heart. Love people. Really, very respectful, man. You hear the stories about you. I hear the stories about him all the time, man, from different people, different boxing pundits around, man. And have you ever heard the story about him being on the plane coming back from LA?
Oh
You ever
yeah.
heard the story? You heard the story about the lady that was afraid to fly, and he went in there. He went there and just calmed her down and sat next to her and stuff. He helped the stewardess out, and they became friends, shortly after. And then you hear about the story about the young man, the artist that used to draw like murals and pictures of him, and he got sick. And Ali went in there, and he turned everything around. I mean, he gave him life at the end of the day. I mean, this guy, I hear stories about this guy all the time, man. I wish I would have met him, and I wish I would have met him in his heyday, like back in his
Yeah.
prime. And
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I can only imagine. Like, they said Michael Jordan glue, like he had a glow to him. Shoot, I'm for sure Ali had a glow to him.
You
His
could
aura
see that on
was-
TV. You
You
could
know
see
what
on
I'm saying?
TV Ali had a glow to him. So imagine in person.
Hey, was it the 1996 Olympics, or which one
Yes.
was it? 96 Olympics when he lit the torch?
Wait, was it 92? It was the one in
Which one
Atlanta.
was it, bro? Yes.
It
Which
was
one was that?
92, I think. It was 92.
Oh my God! When he lit that torch, dude, that was unbelievable, bro. That's
Tim,
like
I
never.
was shaking. I was like shaking because it was a surprise. Remember, no one knew until you saw him.
Everybody, I mean everybody. I probably had to be the most watched Olympics, ceremony of all times, man, because that was unbelievable, man. Absolutely. Ali touched a lot of fighters, not only fighters, but just people around the world, man. Just his bravery, man. His bravery, how he was charismatic. He loved people. I mean, dude, he's done it all. I mean, he did it all. So I respect him wholeheartedly. His entire family, his grandson. I talk to his grandson all the time.
Yeah.
Nico Ali Wash,
Yep.
man. He's a good kid, man. He's a good kid. So I talk to him all the time, and I give him little tits and tats and things like that. I believe in the young man too, man. I think he can do something.
Oh, it was the 96 Olympics. H Money Mob
96,
just
I
96 was in Atlanta. 92 was Barcelona, I think.
Told you
But
96.
96, yeah. You know what, Tim? I appreciate you doing this, and I like talking about the Ali because everyone today, you go on YouTube and people are talking about the negative. It's Haney and Garcia, and people still talking about the drug tests. And I get that there's a place for all that, and it should be talked about, but I don't have to talk about it. I can talk about the fights coming up this week and celebrate Ali. And listen, you go do what you got to do because I know you're stopped. I know you got things to do. But I appreciate you, man. And
Hey.
Listen, if you have some time, I know you got a hectic schedule in New York, but I'm not far from New York, so shout me out if you have any time. But I know you're up here working and you're getting awards. You're doing everything.
Well, I appreciate you, George, for real, man. Bottom of my heart, man. And thanks for allowing me to, be on your show today. Talking a little bit of Ali and this weekend's fight. Maybe I'll see you up there, man. If I buy some time, if I get some time, man, we should go to lunch. Let's meet up.
Just let me know. Let me know, brother.
All right, fans out there. Talk to you later.
All right, man.
Peace.
Man, the champ, Tim Bradley. Tim is a good dude. Tim is a good dude, and he gets a lot of flack. People call him a hater, and it's so much ignorance out there. People throw that word around. It's not hating if you're being honest about something. There are haters out there who literally hate, but he doesn't hate. Come on now. And H Money, I appreciate that. I was getting 92 and 96 mixed up. That moment, and we're talking Ali because he passed away. It's been 8 years since he passed away. That moment in 92, I can remember they kept it a secret who was going to light the torch for the Olympics. And it was a big deal because this was the first Olympics that was in the US since 84. 84 was in LA. And when it was Ali, Oh man, I can't even describe my emotions. It was just I was probably crying. Like it was excitement and seeing him shake, but so dignified and apparently that night meant so much to him. There's a lot of stories about how he stayed up almost all night and he had the torch with him. And it was just it was a special moment. And I'm glad Tim brought that up because I didn't forget about it, but I probably wouldn't have brought it up. Um so yeah, we're talking some Ali because I understand. I said this earlier that people you're talking hair follicles with Ryan Garcia and tainted supplements and people hating on Haney and I don't like talking about that. And I know not a lot of people watch things like this, but it's nice to have some control over what you do. Yeah, I actually I sent that to Tim just if he was free and sure enough he popped on. Yeah, I think he was the best ever too for a lot of reasons. But yeah, with Ali, his poetry, it was just a different day. And I think for the media, I've read every book on Ali. Well, maybe not everyone, but I've seen almost every doc, read almost every book. And here's my own story about Ali. Ninth grade, eighth grade or ninth grade English. I was in honors English. Yes, I was in honors English. And we had to do oral book reports. So you had from the first person perspective. So whoever you did a book report on, you had to be that person. You had to go up there and say, "My name is Martin Luther King. I was born X." And so I had a bathrobe on, had a pair of gloves, boxing gloves on. I walked up in front of the class. I said I was born Cassius Marcellus Clay, January 17th, 1942. And it went from there. Only two people got A's in that class, and I was one of them. So um, so that's my Ali story, and I do kind of regret not going in to see him, but I don't know, man. Little Holmes, you said it right. I was giving him, I don't know. He was by himself, and yeah, respect. I mean, so, but he was someone that I always admired. I was too young to. I mean, when I first got into boxing, he had his last fight with Trevor Berbick, which I've seen clips of that fight. Actually, I've seen more of that fight than the Larry Holmes fight. The Larry Holmes fight I can't watch. No offense, little Holmes. I can't watch that because he just didn't that fight sickens me. He didn't belong in the ring at that time. And that's why people talk about boxing and um man, it was just he shouldn't have been there. He was damaged and the commission knew it and Don King knew it. And Ali and his team knew it too. And they still went on with that fight. But yeah. Jeremy Francis, J Rock, honors English creative writing. All right, yeah. Conscious gains. How would you describe Ali's fight style? Pure boxer, boxer puncher. He was, I mean, he was a boxer. Yeah, he had some pop, but he wasn't a knockout artist. He knocked out, he stopped Joe Frazier, in the 15th. He knocked out George Foreman. He did have some power, but he was a boxer. But especially when he was young, if people haven't seen his clips and his highlights and his fights in the 60s, he was maybe one of the most perfect fighting machines I've ever seen. And I know I say perfect because they say he did everything wrong. He pulled straight back, but he had the reflexes, the speed, and the smarts. And he could dance for 15 rounds. He literally moved for 15 rounds and never stopped and beat you down. And that's what he did. And then when he became older, he found out what kind of a chin he had. And unfortunately that led to his demise. But when Ali had you in trouble, he got you out of there. He got you out of there. I mean, but when he was young, again, I know the people say he had all these flaws, but he was so fast and he was so smart and he was so confident that he was just an amazing, amazing fighter. You know who carried Ferdy Pacheco? Yes, I know, and I know the story that Ferdy um, Ferdy sent records to Ali and Herbert Muhammad, who was his manager, saying that he's being damaged, and Ferdy didn't work with him anymore after that, and Ali still kept fighting. And it's sad when you, yeah, he those were some dubious fights, man. But yes, the first one he just beat him up. He didn't know what Sonny Liston didn't know what was in front of him. The second fight was just crazy. But yeah, me too. When I think boxer, Ali comes to mind first. Yeah, they ignored Ferdy when he sent those records in. You're absolutely right. And boxing is it's a I do respect these fighters, and it's very easy to call people bums and to say they suck and this and that, but this is a it's not like, I know football does some damage to you, but boxing, I've interviewed fighters who were still active, and I could hear the way they talk that they're already damaged, and the damage is going to get worse the older they get. So, Tim Bradley has talked a lot about the Ruslan Provodnikov fight and the damage it did to him. And he's talked about how that fight meant so much to his career, but it was just a damaging fight. So, um, it's funny. Not too long ago, I talked to Kelly Pavlik on the phone. Kelly Pavlik is a former middleweight champion of the world, and he retired at the age of 30, which is crazy. And people thought he was past his prime. He was only 30 years old. He was going to fight Andre Ward at 168. He retired. He says he should have retired 2 years before. He lost his zest for fighting, and thank God he did for him, because he got out when he was supposed to. How many fighters fight too long? If you could write the fairy tale ending, no one gets it. It's rare when a fighter gets the fairy tale ending where they win. Look, winning your last fight, Lennox Lewis did it. Floyd Mayweather did it. But Ali, you would, in a perfect world, after Foreman, if he retires, but at least the latest after Joe Frazier the third time, and then he retires. But he didn't. He didn't. And it's mind you remember the story when Muhammad Ali threw his Olympic gold medal in the river. Now, I've heard yes, I do know that story because as a kid I read all the books about him and I knew that he supposedly did that. Then I heard that really wasn't the story, that I'll be honest with you, I don't think that story is real. I think he lost the medal and made that story up, I think. But yeah, Little Holmes. Yeah, George Chuvalo was one of the toughest fighters in the history of the sport. Heavyweight in the era with Frazier and Ali. Never won a title. He was a Canadian champ, but just had a solid rock hard chin, and he's in bad shape now. And he's got a heartbreaking story. He had sons that were addicted to drugs and died, and a wife that died. He had a hard life. And George Chuvalo, I know you're still alive, and you're appreciated, but I know he's not in great shape. Doc, I was just telling somebody about the Tim Bradley and Ruslan Provodnikov fight yesterday. One of my favorite fights ever. Tim is a beast for that. Took a lot of heart. I worked that fight, and I developed a friendship now that he's done fighting, especially now. But I got to shoot with him because I produced the first Pacquiao Bradley 24/7, so I got to spend time with him. And I remember being in LA. That fight with Ruslan was at it. I think was at the Home Depot Center, what used to be called the Home Depot Center, and it was not the fight that anyone expected, and it's not the fight I don't think he expected. But he's talked about why he fought that way. Um, H Money, Kelly Pavlik wasn't the same fighter after Bernard Hopkins beat him up. You know what? In my conversation with him, which I'm going to try and get him on at some point, he didn't. What he said was he should have retired 2 years before he did. So I think at some point he just lost his love for fighting, and you have to get out. You have to get out. James S. See, that's what I'm saying. Like Leonard, who was my idol. That's the dude that I grew up with and that I wanted to be. Perfect world for him. He beats Hagler and he retires. Roy Jones, perfect world for him. He beats Ruiz, heavyweight champ, man, and he's done. And it just doesn't happen. And Sugar Ray Leonard, I remember when he came back to fight Terry Norris, and I mean, he got beat up by a young, strong, incredible champ. Then he came back to fight Hector Camacho. And I believe that fight was a pay-per-view. And yes, I ordered it. And yes, I thought there was no way Hector Camacho, light punching Hector Camacho, was going to beat Sugar Ray Leonard. And then see Sugar Ray get stopped for the first time in his career. This is great fighters are not always great. A great fighter is not always great. They're not great their whole life. At some point, you're not a great fighter. Man, I just watched, well, I'll talk about the project later, but that first fight, it was epic because that second round, I thought Jermaine Taylor had Pavlik out. I mean, he dropped him. He had him in all kinds of trouble, and Pavlik came back. Pavlik worked his way back in the fight, and Pavlik won and became middleweight champion of the world from Youngstown, Ohio, just like Boom Boom Mancini. But wow. Yeah, there's some shows that I watch, some YouTube show. I like that Oscar. I like that Oscar is right over my shoulder. Oscar's just making sure everything is good. And all those books up there, I'd say about 90% of them are boxing books. But got Oscar looking out for me. Little Holmes. Camacho holds his head down and uppercuts Ray and opens his mouth, and Camacho, that was a brutal fight. You know what is crazier about that fight? I'm glad Sugar Ray Leonard lost, because I remember the rumors were if Sugar Ray beats Camacho, he's going to fight De La Hoya next. And thank God he lost, because Oscar would have hurt him. In their primes, it's no contest. Sugar, he can't touch Sugar. But back then, Oscar would have hurt him badly. And then Camacho got that shot. H Money, George, who would win a fantasy fight at 130? Hector Camacho versus Vasily Lomachenko. Well, I'm biased, so I can just tell you I'm biased, and I respect Lomachenko. But Hector Camacho, I think 130 was his best weight. He had speed. He had power. I remember when he took Jose Luis Ramirez apart at 130. He was a bad dude, and he was cocky. He was confident. He had speed. He had power. He had flash. I'm rooting for Hector Camacho. As great as Lomachenko is, Hector Camacho at 130 pounds. Hector fought for a long time, and it gets lost in the sauce that he was a great fighter. At one point in his career, he was a great fighter. He was the truth, man. The stage was set for him to take over for Sugar Ray Leonard, who was always retiring. I mean, hand speed was like crazy. Like Lil Holmes says, was a blur. He was incredible until he fought Edwin Rosario, 135 in MSG, 1986. And he got clipped in that fight, and he got hurt in that fight. But I've read the books on Hector, and Hector had drug issues, pretty bad drug issues for a long time. So my pick, man, I'm going with the Macho Man. At 130, maybe I'd go with Lomachenko 135, but at 130, Hector was a bad boy. Hector was a bad man. You know what? Let me I did this little plug for my channel. Yeah, Jeremy, he liked to like, but it destroyed him, and it's just sad. But I'm trying to get people to subscribe. I made this a while ago, and I got like 50 people to watch it. But this is to entice people to subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my YouTube page and you can win a once-in-a-lifetime, no-expenses-paid trip to check out the boxing memorabilia in my garage and in my home office. You can come hit the heavy bag and go through the hundreds of boxing magazines I have, and even take a picture with a life-size Oscar De La Hoya cardboard cutout that I took when I was at HBO. You see that, right? You see what I pulled out from behind Oscar, so you can read between the lines. Subscribe now for your chance to win all of this. So there you go. A no expenses paid trip to check out my stuff. And I got Oscar right behind me. You can take pictures with Oscar. So all you got to do is subscribe. You might win that trip. You might win that trip. You come hit the heavy bag. You look at some boxing. I have boxing magazines all over. Like, right, I can't reach it. Man, should I reach it? Because it's a pretty good one. I haven't left. But this is what I'm saying. I got these things all over the house. There's a Boxing Illustrated from September of '84. Look at this. Tommy Hearns knocking out Roberto Duran. It's just, it's all over the house. It's all over the house. So, James got that too. You'll win. You win the trip. Got that too. Or you can bring that. So, yes, I'm down. So look, we got some good fights, and I'm going to talk about these later in the week. But Friday, I'm looking forward to Broner and Cobbs. I don't know where it airs, probably on Triller, something like that. It's probably going to be horrible. I mean, you saw that presser. The technology that Don King is using now, it's just terrible. It's just terrible. But talking Ali, so this doc right here, Champions Forever, like Little Holmes said, it came out in '89. And really, it's still one of my favorite docs. You can watch it on YouTube. But it went into detail. It was like little bios on Ali and Norton and Foreman and Frazier and the great Larry Holmes. And it was just seeing those guys together was historic. And they had a dinner together, like Little Holmes said. Just historic footage, and I wish people took the time to do more things like this. But here's the very end of Champions Forever. So I just want you to take a look at this and check it out.
The champion, the people's champion, as I wanted to be while I was fighting. A guy who gave opportunities to fighters that wouldn't have got opportunities. A fighter who accomplished and set examples. A guy who walked the road that he wanted to walk.
Incredible.
I want them to have the record straight that I was a good boxer and that I did fight some of the top contenders and that I did fight for the championship of the world and won it fair and square. If I can be remembered and have my name called in the same fashion as, like I said, Jack Dempsey, Muhammad Ali, and Joe Frazier, I'll be a happy man. I'll be pretty contented with that. I don't want to be remembered as the greatest at all. I just want to be remembered as a good boxer.
You sure were. What a moment.
An intelligent being, a caring being, an individual, even though he was very competitive, I would say in his heart that he never wanted to injure anyone. And that he was a man that believed in God.
Rest in peace.
Boxing is good to me. I love it. It just bothers me when I hear people trying to shut it down. I mean, if you didn't make it good or you didn't make a couple of bucks and you wasn't a good leader, I don't give you the right to knock it down, because boxing have put a lot of bread in a lot of people's pocket. Same thing as love. Listen, I don't have to say I'm the greatest. When I quit boxing, the game died. Didn't it die? The Tyson came along. But still, when you watch Tyson, he's good, but he's no Muhammad Ali.
Gets me every time. Gets me every time. You should go check that out. Champions Forever. Great stories on some great fighters, and rest in peace to Joe and Kenny, and Muhammad. They're no longer with us, but Larry is, and George Foreman is. So, man, that gets to me. That's that's why I love stories, and I love producing. And yeah, the history of the sport is beautiful, and it should be talked about more in a positive light. And you just saw 5 great heavyweights, 5 great champions, and I got to meet one of those 5. I haven't got to meet Larry yet, Little Holmes. Still want to, but I got to. I worked at HBO when George was there. Never met him when we worked together, but I did have the chance to interview him. I think it was 2013 or 14. I got to interview him once. So make sure you check that out. Champions Forever. It's a great doc about some great fighters. And James asked, one of my favorite quotes, he said, and I saw you today, just because you say something about me doesn't mean it's true. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I heard about that and I didn't see it, and I want to see it, and I'm sure I can see it, but it won't be as good as Champions Forever. It just won't. It just won't. Beautiful and tragic, which makes the beauty of it stand out even more. And it's when I saw that, when it came out in '89, I mean, George Foreman had just started his comeback. Nobody thought that he was going to be heavyweight champion of the world again. Nobody. So what incredible stories the sport gave us. But listen, I'm about to get out of here because I am keeping this under an hour for the first time. And shout out to Tim Bradley. And I didn't even get the link out there because Tim showed up, but trying to get a new sparring sessions type show, trivia type show, so we can have some fun, give away things like this September 1984 Boxing Illustrated. But listen, you got to subscribe. Yeah, man, that's incredible. You got to subscribe. And here's the incentive one last time to subscribe to One Round with George. Subscribe to my YouTube page and you can win a once-in-a-lifetime, no expenses paid trip to check out the boxing memorabilia in my garage and in my home office. You can come hit the heavy bag and go through the hundreds of boxing magazines I have, and even take a picture with a life-size Oscar De La Hoya cardboard cutout that I took when I was at HBO. Subscribe now for your chance to win all of this. So there you go. Memorabilia. Check out the boxing once in a lifetime, no expenses paid trip to check out the boxing memorabilia in my garage and in my home. Right there. That Hearns Leonard, that's a thick kind of poster. A buddy of mine gave that to me. That he was at HBO longer than I, and he collected a lot of memorabilia from there. And a couple years ago, he gave me a box of posters, and that was in there, and it's signed by Sugar Ray Leonard back in 1981. You can see office. You can it was in there somewhere, but it was signed by Sugar Ray Leonard. Come hit the heavy bag and go through the 100. You know, how much you pay for the new guy? Huh? Wait, I'm lost. Pay for what new guy? I'm sorry. I'm just. Let me get this off. All right, there we go. James, yeah, listen, and I get people like to talk about the salacious stuff, and I'm on here talking about I'm talking about what I want to talk about, and I'm not beefing with anyone, and it's an internet thing. Oh, I got you, Lance. I got you. Yeah, that Leonard Hearns was a great fight. I got you, Lance. I got you. But yeah, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. We had Tim Bradley pull through, and I appreciate you, Tim. You can catch Tim on ESPN Saturday night. He's calling the fights with Joe Tessitore, Xander Zayas, and Patrick Teixeira out of New York City. Oh, shoot. Just found my new favorite boxing channel. Well, there you go. Well, I'll tell you, with me, you're going to get some history, because the history should not be ignored. It's a beautiful history, and these fighters have great stories. And I'm a firm believer in I don't keep the legacy alive. The legacy keeps itself alive. But I love to talk about this, and that's why the majority of the talk today was on Ali, who passed away yesterday at the age of 74, 8 years ago, which it's crazy that he's been gone for 8 years. But the late great Muhammad Ali, and we got to talk some Ali. We got to talk some Ali, and with Tim Bradley, we got to talk some Ali. And Tim Bradley's always dropping nuggets, but that's the doc. Awesome doc. Champions Forever. So make sure you check that out. It's a fantastic documentary, and just historic footage of great fighters together. And look, I'm telling you, I get that stuff gets to me. That the end of that show got to me just watching it. And yes, I did it, man. I did it. Lisa, I'm doing it in under an hour. And the Yankees are winning 3-0. So I always tell my wife, I appreciate you, Jeremy, for reminding me that. I always tell my wife that I'm going to be an hour, and then it turns into an hour and a half, then it turns into 2 hours. But under an hour, before 8 o'clock. See, but then I get caught up in people. There's another new one out as well. In the beginning, Ali wearing a leather jacket. Well, look, I watch anything, any boxing docs out there. I'll watch, and hopefully I'll be involved in on some great fights like Kelly Pavlik, Jermaine Taylor, and Tim Bradley, Ruslan Provodnikov. So hopefully that's coming soon. But it's a beautiful history. I appreciate everybody, because I love the comments. But rest in peace, Ali. Got some fights coming up, and we'll talk about them more. You know what? I'm looking at the timer. It's 58 minutes and 50 seconds. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And Jay, I know you got your camera out, man. So I'm sorry I didn't put the link out there, but I did send Tim the link, but I didn't think I literally sent it to him 30 seconds before I went online, and he came through. So shout out to him. Hopefully I'll see him when he's up in New York. You got the Hall of Fame this week. I want to talk about some Hall of Fame stuff. So we'll do it in 59 minutes, 22 seconds. All right. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit the like button. You don't have to smash it. Just hit the like button. Just hit it. Don't even hit it. Just click it. Just click it. 59 minutes, 33 seconds. All right. I'm out. Yes, sir. We'll see you on the next one. Everyone have a peaceful night.